Oh hey, didn't see you there. Today we're going to continue our Batman marathon with the second Batman movie, if you don't count the serials in the 66 movie, which we're not, because those sound like a fucking pain to watch. Today we watched Batman Returns. So Aidan, what's the plot of Batman Returns?
Batman Returns is quite a bit busier than the first movie. It picks up, I don't know, a few years after?
Some point
the next
after?
year? I don't know.
All we know is that none of the characters from the first movie made
Everyone
a return.
from the first movie's gone except for Batman.
No Commissioner
and
Gordon.
No, Commissioner Gordon appears, but it's for like 2 seconds.
Briefly at the start, I forgot about that.
But
But no Vicky Vale, no Vicky Vale's reporter friend.
let's see. A lot of this movie's set up, just like the origins of everyone involved. Christopher Walken is a corrupt businessman who's doing corrupt businessman stuff.
His energy company is taking power from Gotham, so he's going to
Store it and resell
store
it,
it and resell it.
And he pushes his secretary out a window. His secretary is Selina Kyle. She becomes Catwoman and starts doing random shit. She doesn't really
Becomes kind of crazy, I guess.
She doesn't really do anything that villainous at the start. She just kind of like breaks into malls and hits things with her whip.
Yeah, she never really does anything super villainous. She's slightly an asshole, basically.
She wants revenge on Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Penguin and his gang of circus performers who live in the sewers. They're just like doing random shit for a while, and then the Penguin finds out he's part of the Cobblepot family. Cobblepot? Which
Finds out he's Oswald Cobblepot.
which makes him rich, and him and Christopher Walken basically tricks him into running for mayor, and then
He basically becomes like a PR phenomenon because he saves the baby out of the sewers.
basically,
He orchestrated the kidnapping.
yeah, that Batman exposes the Penguin. He fights the Penguin. The Penguin has a really adorable army of penguins with rockets on their backs that he plans to launch at the city. He fights Catwoman a little bit, kind of. Yeah, it's an odd plot. Connor, what'd you think of Batman Returns?
I have very mixed feelings about Batman Returns. For one thing, let's talk about the titular character Batman. Batman doesn't show up for the first 35 minutes of this movie. Like, he's there for an opening action sequence where he basically says nothing. He kind of just smirks and kills a bunch of people, blows
murders
people.
them. Yeah.
I think we counted he intentionally murdered like 4 to 5 people. But he kind of just goes around. He's pretty much silent and does nothing. When he becomes introduced into the plot, Bruce Wayne / Batman learns pretty much nothing. He's just a side character in his own movie. It doesn't really explain what happened to any of his side characters. I think he briefly mentions Vicky Vale, but nothing like particularly like showing what happened there. They don't really like. Bruce Wayne never learns anything in this movie. He's just kind of there, and he kind of likes Selina Kyle because he thinks she's hot, which kind of sets up this movie starts to kind of set up like the trope the 90s Batman movies had, where it was kind of a James Bond-esque thing. Like, obviously the next 2 installments replace Batman. The tone changes. It's kind of like This Is Sean Connery's Batman, where it's like a slightly campy but somewhat serious take on the character.
Like, yeah, there's gonna
And
be a
then
scene
like
of him on a
Kilmer
jet
and
ski, but it's
Clooney's
kinda-
is Roger Moore, where it's like ridiculous. So if you look at it in that vein, maybe that'll make my appreciation for those next 2 movies grow. I don't know. But the point is, Batman's very unimportant,
Yeah.
which is kind of annoying because it's like, well, I'm watching a Batman movie, but why wasn't this just the Catwoman movie? In terms of Catwoman and Penguin, they did a good job of setting up these characters. They're interesting. Michelle Pfeiffer is fantastic as Catwoman. Danny DeVito is great as Penguin. That said, they're not Catwoman and Penguin as we know them. Their origins have been completely changed. Like, Penguin's supposed to be kind of like a suave gangster who kind of just looks
chubby.
Looks kind of chubby and grotesque.
In this
which
one, they
is
made
kind
him
of
like
his
a weird
gimmick.
sewer monster.
Right,
because-
he's like an upper echelon person, but Tim Burton wanted to make him like a slimy sewer monster, so he's in like dirty pajamas the whole movie. He runs around. He's a fucking sex
He has
pervert,
black
like Bryan
teeth and his
Singer.
fingers are like fused together, like
Right.
into a flipper. It's really fucking weird.
Right,
He
and
just
then,
wanted to make a movie about a gross sewer monster.
yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer gets cat powers from, I guess, being
She
loving
falls out
cats.
a window and then the cats all cuddle her and then she
Yeah,
spray paints
I
her
guess
house
her
black.
love of cats or something, and that kind of makes her crazy. She becomes kind of like a zombie lady. Like, she'll always paint her face white or like use a lot of white concealer when she's Catwoman. Her suit's kind of stitched together. Tim Burton, for some reason, seems to fetishize like zombie women, so that's kind of what Catwoman is. She's not really, doesn't really have the same motivations as in the comics, because in the comics, Selena Kyle kind of stole to like get herself out of poverty. She kind of like was kind of like overconfident and an asshole about it. So I guess the overconfidence pulls over.
She pretty
And she
much
wants
just
to
wants
kill
revenge and nothing else.
She wants to kill Christopher Walken, which I guess is morally evil if we look at things from a Batman perspective. Although Christopher Walken is shown to be a blatantly horrible person.
Yeah.
And then like she saves a woman who's about to get raped in the movie, and she kind of just is like, "Watch your back better next time, lady." So she's like moderately douchey as Catwoman, and that pretty much is why she's like a villain, I guess. But she's pretty much just Batman.
She doesn't
again.
really come off as a villain. She's just like
Right.
slightly less nice Batman.
Right, and Batman just comes over for fight scenes. Danny Elfman's scores, I thought the music was even better than the first one. The first one had fantastic music.
I loved the Penguins theme.
The only time I thought it was weird is when they had that scene they were playing like a jazzy rendition of Super Freak. And then it goes into like some fucking Matlock music. I mean, like Matlock theme song music. Well, there's like this dramatic scene between Batman and Catwoman. It's like the only time Bruce Wayne has any depth to him in this movie.
The Penguins theme is really good though. I liked that.
Yeah, Penguin's theme was great. Of course, the Batman score comes back as good as ever. The city felt a lot smaller. Like, the last movie did really feel like a movie. Like, you could tell, oh, that's miniatures, that's matte paintings. But it still had a scale to it where you felt like it was a real city. Here, there's like 3 sets. There's like, for Gotham, it's like alley set they reuse multiple times.
The Christmas tree.
Top of building set, and like the Christmas tree where the fucking town gathers like it's the goddamn Grinch or something. Luna, I trust you. Get out of here, you little bastard.
Oh, yes, you just want to be a movie star. Okay.
She wants to be in the movie. Anyway.
You're still in the frame. Believe me.
Yeah, and then Wayne Manor is just like... There's like the Batcave in Wayne Manor. There's the sewer set.
Do they even show any of Wayne Manor? I'm pretty sure it's all just like the Batcave. I don't think there's... Maybe there's like 3
There's the
shots.
set when he's like hanging out with Vicky Vale. There's like a red couch in front of a fireplace. That's Wayne Manor. Like the scale feels significantly shrunk.
Yeah, the production design feels like it took a pretty big hit. I mean...
It's still stylized. It feels even more fantasy than the first one because, like,
yeah,
it all takes place at night. For some reason, Tim Burton also fetishizes Christmas, which is a major aspect of this movie.
There's... all the gang members are, like, circus freaks, and there's, like...
Yeah, they're all gimmicky.
It's a little more weird and dreamlike, but at the same time it feels cheaper and most of the time.
Right. I mean...
Because everything's so
yeah,
cramped and small, everything feels like a set.
I really like what they did with, like, Penguin and Catwoman.
Yeah.
I didn't think Christopher Walken's character was anything incredibly special, but...
Generic bad politician.
Generic bad, businessman.
Yeah.
But... there were a lot of things that were decent in this movie, and I felt like Tim Burton kind of had an idea for a script, and if he couldn't use it for Batman, he would have just made this into some other movie. Like, it really didn't feel like he wanted to. And then this is also evident by the fact that when he dropped out of Batman Forever, he was still, like, pegged to do a Catwoman spin-off, because I think he was more interested in this Catwoman character, who's basically a Tim Burton OC, more so than actual Catwoman. And I didn't really mind like the lore changes for Joker, but these are like dramatically not the same character.
Well, if you just ignore Batman, you have Catwoman is basically zombie superhero girl, which is right up Tim Burton's alley.
Right.
The villain, there's the evil businessman, but Penguin is creepy sewer mutant circus freak. Like, this feels like a Tim Burton original movie, and then he was just like, okay, well, here's Batman in it a little bit, I guess.
Right.
That's studio said I had to.
It also has that thing. I feel like the Christmas trope was kind of played out. Like, you have Die Hard, Home Alone, fucking Gremlins, and then this. Its Christmas theme was fucking pointless, aside from the fact that I guess like he wanted to set it during winter for the style of it, but then he didn't really do much with it. Like, there was like the town meetings and shit, but they were trying to get like Penguin to become mayor, so they could have probably just been like, oh, it's during the mayoral election. And that's why. This movie's way more stylized than the first movie, and I think in ways it's to the benefit, but the thing this movie really fails at is being a Batman movie. Yeah. So that's the only reason I didn't really like it as much as the first movie, though it had quite a bit of merit. And also as an adaptation of Batman.
It's that and the scale, because like there's two identical scenes in the first movie and this one where something bad happens at like the town hall meeting.
Right.
Where in the first one the guy gets assassinated and in this one the baby gets stolen. But in the first one, it starts with like Bruce Wayne walking down the street and he's getting harassed by the clowns, and then he ends up in front of the town hall where the shooting happens, and there's like this big open space because they actually shot it on some street in like Boston or whatever, I don't know where the fuck they shot it. And then in this one, it's just like this tiny little box shaped set, and there's a bunch of reporters in front of the stairs, and then there's a guy, and then the clown crawls out from the back of the set. And he goes to the back of the set, and then he goes back to the front, and everything's just like crushed and condensed.
Right. Everything feels very small scale and claustrophobic. Like, it is also a big detriment to the film. While I like, it would have been better just to make a Catwoman movie and then have Batman kind of cameo, because that's what this was.
Pretty much.
They called it. Tim Burton wanted to do a Catwoman movie, but he didn't really want to. He wanted to loosely adapt Catwoman into a movie. And then what he wanted to do was loosely adapt Penguin to be the villain. And then he wanted Batman as a side character, but he tricked the studio by calling it a Batman movie. And this movie's pretty campy. Like, a lot of people say, like, Joel Schumacher kind of went off the rails.
Yeah, this movie has an army of penguins with fireworks on their backs that they shoot off like missiles being remote controlled by a sewer mutant.
I mean, this movie is distinctly darker. Mostly, there are tonally it's slightly darker. There's a lot of goofy shit in it, but it's about as campy as Batman Forever from what I remember. I mean, we'll watch Batman Forever next and know for sure. But
yeah, it's certainly a...
It's not like this movie was like grounded. Like, the first movie felt very grounded.
Yeah.
Batman was a great character in the movie. Joker wasn't as fleshed out a villain as Penguin or Catwoman, but was still a pretty good character.
Well, he's also believable.
He wasn't a bad
just
villain.
Like slightly disfigured crime boss and slightly autistic money man, and then this one it's like zombie dominatrix and sewer mutant.
Right, and then also like I couldn't really. The villain's motivations were very hard to follow in this movie.
Christopher
Walken's is easy. He wants to make this power plant, and for some reason he has to, like, the Penguin like kidnaps him, and tries to convince him to, like, stop being evil and help him find his parents. But then Penguin finds his parents. So why does he still deal with Christopher Walken? Because Christopher Walken still wants to be evil and clearly isn't stopping.
Christopher Walken,
Penguin
I think,
doesn't care for most of the movie.
Christopher
until the last,
Walken
half hour.
is tricking the Penguin into becoming the mayor so that he can pass legislation for Christopher Walken.
Right.
And the Penguin goes along with it because...
I don't know why Penguin would go along
to
with
repay
it.
him for finding his parents.
But Penguin finds his parents. Penguin just shows up on the surface world and then finds his parents. He in no way needed Christopher Walken to achieve that goal.
Yeah, I don't know why he worked with them.
And then Penguin wants to kill a bunch of people in Gotham, so why does he need to become mayor when he clearly already has the tools to do so?
So he doesn't even want to kill him.
And
He
then
just wants to steal all the children to make
Right.
into circus people.
No, he was going to drown the children.
That was after. At first, he was just stealing them to make them into circus children at the start of the movie, and then I guess he changed his mind.
And then Michelle Pfeiffer wants to kill Christopher Walken, which I get. Then why? I don't get really why she teams up with Penguin. Penguin like convinces her they can kill Christopher Walken together.
Yeah, but
I
also
don't know why
I don't
she's
understand.
overpowered. She knows where he works. Why not just bust in there and murder his
I don't
ass?
understand Catwoman's other criminal activities because there's basically one scene
Where she shows up at the
where
mall
she breaks into a mall
and
and she just starts smashing things with her whip, and
in
two
the
mall
worst
cops come
framed
up,
scene I've ever seen.
and the mall cops are like 1,000 feet away, and they're like, "Stop or we'll shoot you." And then she somehow just like super stretches her whip over there and knocks the gun out of their hands.
Right.
And then they're like, "Why are you doing this?" And she says, "I don't know, LOL," and then just runs away. She just like smashes like 3 cases in the mall.
Right.
Just leaves.
It was also kind of baffling that Batman really is just like an
doesn't do
omnipresent character. Like he shows up, his love thing with Selena Kyle was flimsy at best.
Yeah.
To be honest, their relationship was like, "You're a feisty woman. Let's go on a date." Then they walk around and start kissing, and then they fuck off for the entire movie. Then they kiss in front of the fireplace and fuck off for a half hour.
Batman.
And they go to the dance and they find out each other's secret identities, and then they go down to the sewers and.
Batman spends like 90% of this
it.
movie just watching the Bat computer and sipping coffee, and he's like. The only thing of note that he does is fucking plays the recording of the Penguin over the speaker so everyone turns against him, and everything else, like. Catwoman kills Christopher Walken. The Penguin kind of just dies by coincidence because he. Well, I mean, I guess Batman kind of punched him into the water, but.
Right.
And Catwoman just fucks off. He doesn't even deal with Catwoman. She just.
Well, she kisses Christopher Walken and it all blows up, and then Batman moves the shit, and apparently she magically teleported off.
Yep.
And Christopher Walken's a charred ass corpse.
So I guess he kind of beat up the Penguin, but the Penguin was basically just some chunky guy who kidnapped babies. Sewer mutant.
Super pedophile guy. Anyway, Aidan, what did you think of Batman Returns? God, Batman Returns. That's the most bullshit title ever.
Yeah.
Batman barely returns. Anyhow.
You know, it's okay. I think we went over it a lot. I thought the Army of Penguins was really adorable, even though it's kind of like stupid. Music was great once again. The sets were a downgrade, but I did like a lot of the production design still.
Right. It did still have that element of fantasy that the first movie had, which
maybe even a little more so.
Right. More so for sure.
But overall, I mean, it's kind of generic-y. I mean, especially as a movie that's supposed to be about Batman. Batman doesn't do shit or appear all that much in it.
Mm-hmm.
The Catwoman stuff is fairly generic to me. I mean, I don't think she's horrible, but, you know, she's not great. I think the Penguin is a little more interesting, but he's still kind of like... I mean, I guess there's something kind of interesting about creepy sewer mutant man, but it gets old a little. Christopher Walken's basically a non-character, and those are basically your 4 characters for the movie. I don't know, the romance is shit, because they just had to restart the romance, and Tim Burton didn't feel like it. Alfred I liked in the first movie a lot, and he appears in like 1 scene this one, maybe 2.
He appears in a couple scenes, but most of the time he barely does anything of note.
And I don't know. Compared to the first one, it just feels like such a downgrade, even though I don't think it's like necessarily bad. It's just kind of like
I think the consensus is this is like the most critically acclaimed of the 90s Batman movies. And I think kind of the irony in that is like this is a 45-minute they introduced two prolonged origins over 45 minutes, and yet people kind of shit on Amazing Spider-Man for being like a 30-minute origin. Granted, I understand like Spider-Man's origin was just done in Tobey Maguire's film, but there was a point where a lot of people were bitching about the origin problem, and yet since this movie was made in the 90s, I guess it's just exempt from the overly long origin. And I didn't mind Michelle Pfeiffer's character, but I still felt like, you know, it's called fucking Batman, and yet our main character is Catwoman.
It feels weird too, because the first movie actually escaped the origin trap almost entirely. Batman's origin's told to us in like 30 seconds towards the end of the movie.
But then fucking
Joker's is literally
Tim Burton's
just like
obsessed with Catwoman, so
guess,
he had to go with it. Yeah, I mean, Joker and Batman's origins are
probably
basically
take up 3
tied
minutes
together, and it's literally like flashback. You shot my parents. You ever dance with the devil on a pale man's light? It's like, damn, dude, that sucks. I remember not liking this movie as a kid, and I don't hate it. I feel like I can appreciate aspects of the film, but honestly, like, it's kind of just like, if you like Tim Burton's style, you'll like this film. But if you're actually coming in for like
Batman,
like, and even like Selena Kyle's character I like, but it is slightly like she's not a character of great depth. She's a stylized character in a stylized world. And if you like seeing like you know, Tim Burton's stylized world with very little substance, that's what this is basically.
It is a very Tim Burton movie, more so than the first one was.
Right, like this literally could have been just an original IP, because there's very little that ties it to Batman other than, oh look, Batman's here for a minute.
Yeah.
Like how fucking, like, this is like the I've never seen a superhero movie that is so bafflingly disconnected from its main character. Batman probably had more screen time in Justice League. Yeah. I bet you if I compared, Batman has more screen time in Justice League than he has in his own fucking movie. And Catwoman easily dunks Batman on screen time in this movie. Batman's a side character at best.
I almost wonder if like Michael Keaton just like halfway didn't want to come back for it for whatever reason, but was forced to. Because there's so little of him, because he's got like 2 fight scenes against the random thugs.
Well, originally he was going to come back for 3 even, but then they said they were going to lighten up the tone, and he's like, nah. But I also think like the Batman Forever script was a lot more intensely about Batman, which might have turned him off to the project because he liked his passive role in this, his cameo.
Like, he's Batman in like 5 scenes in this movie tops, and then he's fucking Michael Keaton with dyed black hair. He dances with Selena, he kisses her on a couch, and then he spends the rest of the movie in front of the Bat computer just going, we've got to monitor this Penguin situation. Then Alfred's like, here's your soup, Master Bruce. And then it cuts back to Selena for 40 minutes.
Alfred's like, you ruin all of your relationships in life. Why do you think you have absolutely no side characters? Bruce, you're so bad at social life, you literally got downgraded in your own fucking movie to supporting extra.
Featured extra?
Dude, he was fucking...
Got about as much
he probably has
time
about...
as CIA.
Yeah, I bet you CIA probably has more dialogue than Batman in his own movie, dude. It's sad, man. Tim Burton really lost sight of the idea of making a Batman movie. Like, the core idea of making a Batman movie was missing, and the fact that he barely has fucking Batman. And I'm not necessarily saying, like, I want to see more action scenes with Batman. Like, there was enough Batman to satisfy me, but, like, he did nothing with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He did nothing. Batman was barely in it, but Batman was far more important than Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne sat there.
The only time that Batman's in the movie is when he's punching something. There's never a scene... I mean...
And why was he really romantically involved with Selena Kyle? Couldn't she just have been some girl?
Yeah.
Couldn't he have just run into Catwoman? But that's the only way he has a reason to be in the fucking movie as Bruce Wayne. Pretty much. That's why he's dating Catwoman. That's why they got rid of Vicky Vale. Yep. Because if he had a girlfriend and he couldn't get in a relationship with Catwoman, then he would show up as Batman once in a while in his fucking car. But Bruce Wayne... I don't think Bruce Wayne would need to be featured for a minute in this fucking movie. Bruce Wayne has nothing to do, and Batman is there to assist in fight scenes. And Batman kind of passively has no fucking idea what's going on. Like, he doesn't figure anything out. He's like we know, everyone knows he's Oswald Cobblepot, and then, like, he just sits there with his, like, puffed out lips, and Catwoman, like, talks about how she's Selena Kyle and shit.
Literally,
then he rips his mask off, and he's like, just in case anybody in the fucking world didn't know I was Bruce Wayne, here you go. In front of Christopher Walken.
Rips it off, and he's like, Christopher Walken has to go to jail, we can't kill him, and he's like...
He's like, it's me, Bruce Wayne. Like, why rip your fucking mask off? The only things you've done... Like, I get he's, like, horny for girls and knows, like, if they know he's Bruce Wayne, maybe he'll, like, sink in the pussy easier or something. But, like, for no fucking reason whatsoever, he had to reveal that to Catwoman while Christopher Walken was there. And he shared about 2 scenes with Catwoman.
Literally
in this entire movie.
Only significant thing that Bruce Wayne does in this entire movie, that Batman does in the entire movie, is play the recording of the Penguin to make everyone hate him. And I guess he made a CD that he put in that he had Alfred put in the Bat computer to make the Penguins not blow up the city with their fireworks.
I guess.
Or maybe Alfred made that, so Batman did even less. I don't know. I don't know who made it. I don't think they really showed. They just kind of had a CD that...
They also hacked the fucking Batmobile, so he just looks like a jackass.
Oh yeah, he runs
Batman's
down
completely
like
fucking
people.
incompetent in this entire fucking movie, dude. Honestly, like, it's very sad because Bruce Wayne was maybe a little undercooked in the first Batman, but his Batman was at least good, and there was stuff for him to do. Like, Bruce Wayne's actually, like, a character in that movie, and Michael Keaton's kind of got a fun and awkward charisma to Bruce Wayne that's kind of unique and a fun take.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he's either fucking mentally retarded or he's just the Batman, puffed out lips, looking like a fucking idiot because he has no idea what's going on. Batman's 2 attributes is that he fights people and he's a good detective, and Batman pretty much succeeds at neither of those in this movie, unless you count him kicking Oswald off a fucking cliff.
At what point does he even discover that Christopher Walken is evil? Because he was doing business deals with Christopher Walken up until fucking Catwoman was basically like, you know, Christopher Walken's evil, right? And he's like...
I don't know, and like, he kind of, like, it kind of seemed like maybe the business deal was like a way for him to go underground with him, but it didn't really appear that way. Like, they didn't really do anything with the information
there wasn't any
provided.
real, like, there wasn't really any confirmation to that.
Yeah. I mean, I've really been dogging on this movie, but, I mean, stylistically, it's fun. I like Catwoman, so I don't think it's completely awful. But if you start picking at the movie, it's pretty much awful. The only thing it does is it has a really unique style, and Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer is really good as Catwoman. The movie has a unique style. Other than that, it's pretty much trash.
It's got good style, it's got good music. If you cut out all the Batman scenes, it'd be a decent Catwoman movie, and with...
No, just cut out the Bruce Wayne scenes and just be like, he awkwardly cameos.
He awkwardly cameos to sell toys. Catwoman returns.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason they called it Batman... Dude,
Batman
Batman Returns was made up either before the movie came out or they had a script that was just untitled Batman movie, and then they were like, marketing teams just like, what works? And like, Batman Returns, you know, he's coming back. Batman Returns. Because you know they don't think about these titles.
No.
Batman Returns.
Forever.
Batman Forever. Which I want to add, Robin is a prominent character in. And then the next one's called Batman and Robin. Plus,
like
okay, here's the thing.
It didn't get any better in the Nolan trilogy.
Well, why couldn't... Okay, think about this, though. Why wasn't the third movie called Batman and Robin? Because he introduces Robin. And then why wasn't the fourth one called Batman Forever? Forever?
That's good.
And then on top of that, it's the fourth movie. It ended up being the last movie, but that just sounds like an ominous, like, fourth movie, Batman Forever. That's a pretty fucking 90s thing to do. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know. The Christopher Nolan movies, yeah, they had bad names too. But we'll get on to that. I'm sure we'll rant about that once we get to
the thing that doesn't make
Christopher
any sense.
Nolan
It's
series.
always called the Dark Knight trilogy. The first movie's called Batman Begins. Neither of the other titles have Batman in them. The second two titles are almost identical, but The Dark Knight Rises, which sounds like
The first
the
movie in the
beginning,
series in the Dark
is
Knight
the
trilogy.
last one. Like, I know it's supposed to be about him climbing out of the pit or whatever, but you think it'd be like
Rising or whatever.
The Dark Knight Rises, The Dark Knight, and then like something
Just
that
dark
sounds...
the next time. Just take a word out after each one.
It's The Dark Knight, The Dark, The...
No. Well, I really think The Dark Knight Rises kind of fell into a Batman Forever type of trap, or a Batman Returns type of trap, you know, or an Xbox One. The first one's Batman Begins because like it's a Batman movie and he's beginning, makes sense. Tells everyone that this is like a reboot. Okay. Second one's Dark Knight, you know, well-known pseudonym.
Mm-hmm.
But now everybody's forgot about Batman Begins because it didn't do nearly as good as Batman the Dark Knight, and 90% of people just seen that movie. So from a marketing perspective,
It doesn't make sense to call it anything else.
you got to keep the Dark Knight. So then they call it the Dark Knight Rises. But it's kind of like Batman Returns, where it's just kind of called like this movie's just called Batman for marketing purposes. And that's why that movie is called The Dark Knight Rises. Because I'm sure you could come up with something else. The Cape Crusader Capers. Capers of the Cape Crusaders. That's what the third movie's called. I don't know. He's got like 6,000 pseudonyms. We'll just call it like Batman
Fucking
generic.
Call it Batman
title.
Ends. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Batman Ends.
Sure. Like that would fucking... you know,
At least it
fuck
matches.
it. No one would even care. Just do the symmetry. Because if Dark Knight Rises, he rises in the second act, and then by the end of the movie, he's fucking
Dead.
presumed dead, but he just retires again. And what's with Batman in this goddamn series retiring? Whatever. We're gonna get out of this shit. It's like Iron Man, dude. It's like, make up your damn mind. Are you done or not? But whatever. Whatever.
Would you recommend Batman Returns?
Yeah, if you're a fan of... This one actually like deserves an if. I don't really give an if, but... If you're a fan of Tim Burton, or you just want to see like an interesting stylized movie, and you don't really care about like the lore, or like the importance of the titular character at all, then yes. But if you're coming in trying to watch a movie about Batman because you want to watch a movie about Batman, then no. But you gotta go in. Just pretend it's called Catwoman fights a fucking
Superman.
greased up Danny DeVito. If you think of it as Catwoman fights a greased up Danny DeVito, then you'll like the movie. But if you think of it as a Batman movie, you'll probably be painfully disappointed.
Anytime you see Bruce Wayne on the screen, just fast forward and pretend he's not in it.
Yeah. Or just be like, oh, this is a featured cameo from Michael Keaton himself. So Aidan, would you recommend... I don't know if I asked this second one. So Aidan, would you recommend Batman Returns?
I would as a Tim Burton movie. It's a decent Tim Burton movie. It's weird, it's stylish, it's dark. It's kind of stupid at
It's
times.
kind of like a worse version of A Nightmare Before Christmas meets The Corpse Bride.
Kind of, yes. As if you're watching it for Batman, I probably would just not, because he's not in this movie really. But yeah, I guess Tim Burton fans, yes. Batman fans, probably not.
Dude, I should make an art of the featured extra too about this movie. about Michael Keaton and Batman Returns.
that'd be funny as shit.